Hey everyone. So I decided to make a video because something happened that was interesting. So I had a vision, and in that vision, I began to hear the sound of two newscasters talking, and they were talking about why they thought Bernie Sanders lost. Now, this vision happened a few days after Super Tuesday, and so I assumed at the time that, or I was assuming when I was listening in, that they were talking about Super Tuesday. But what I saw happen is they were talking, having a conversation, trying to figure out why it is that Bernie Sanders lost. And then the shadow of a bird flew in, and then it flew out again. And then they said, "Aha, that's what it is. He's too old." And at that point, I was like, "But wait a moment. Joe Biden is also very old." So I was a bit confused at that point because it's like this doesn't really make sense. So I'm like, well, perhaps this is, this is a different time. Perhaps this is some time in the future. So, anyways, as I lay there, a flock of birds came in, and they weren't they were similar to the one I'd seen earlier, where it was more just the shadow of the bird. And they came in and they carried me out of my room, through the wall and into another room. And the room that I was in to begin with felt a bit cold. It was a bit chilly. And then the one that I was brought into was warm and it was bright. And I heard another conversation, and it was between two people, and they were talking about um, how they were so excited that Andrew Yang had brought forward these sort of new ideas, and that politics was changing, and that people were talking about things differently. And so it feels as if this vision was about a transition in politics. This is actually something that I had thought about years ago when Donald Trump was first running. I thought, well, he's a type of catalyst. I also thought that the same of Bernie Sanders, that he was a type of catalyst, and that there's a change happening from the old politics, because there was a lot of discussion at the time about establishment versus like anti-establishment movement. And really, I think the anti-establishment movement is rooted in the financial crisis that happened in 2008. So what this tells me, or at least what I gleaned from it, though I'm not really sure exactly how to interpret it, is that there's a transition from old politics into new politics, a transition from the traditional like democratic labor unions versus Republican economic interests, and that we're transitioning into more of a tech-focused, tech utopian type politics. And I'm not sure what to think about it right now because I don't really believe in tech utopias, but it is true that things like vaccines have made our life infinitely better than what it used to be. So it's possible there could be a near utopian type transition, just like vaccines. Um, but what I glean from this is just that, first of all, I think that they were talking about a future loss, because I don't think that age would have been something brought up at Super Tuesday. So I believe that this either means a loss where he is not the nominee or a loss to Donald Trump. But I don't remember Biden ever being brought up in any of these conversations, which makes me think that Bernie Sanders will be the nominee. And it also makes me think that he'll lose to Donald Trump, which is not what I would want, to be honest. But I can see like this sort of infighting um, among sort of established people who feel like they've got the economy going like with the wind to their back, and people who know that the economy will not stay that way forever, and also that it's not serving them. And I feel like there's an internal conflict going on in the Democratic Party, and I'm afraid, which this sort of vision confirms, that perhaps it's not unified, and that Trump will come on as this sort of, I don't know what to call it, but as someone who is viewed as the safer pick. Because people are, when people get scared, they are, they look for something that's stable, something that's familiar, something that they're used to, something that, feels predictable. reliable, etc. And the thing is right now, that's why Joe Biden surged. This is the reason why Joe Biden surged on Super Tuesday, is because people got kind of scared because there's the coronavirus going around. There's this sort of Trumpian politics. The world is, like there's been tons of protests all over. And there's this transition that's happening that a lot of countries are not handling very well. And so Joe Biden is seen as like, from a time when things were a bit more stable, when we were in a recovery, when people thought that things were going to get better, et cetera, et cetera. And so people feel like it's safe. They feel like it's familiar, that it's, something like that. But my guess is, based on this, that Joe Biden will not be the nominee. I don't know what it is going to be, but I would make the prediction right now that Joe Biden's, mental fortitude is failing, and that will push him to the background, and that Bernie will surge because Bernie is he's very mentally, he's very competent, very mentally strong, and I believe that he will be the nominee, but I'm not certain that he will win the presidency because people are looking for something that is safe and stable, and he talks about a revolution, and a lot of people go with their instinct, and they're scared of that sort of thing. So even though I'd like to see Sanders president and not Trump, I have a feeling that it's going to be the other way around. So anyways, that's just my thoughts on it. That's my interpretation. Of course, when it comes to things that are happening in the future, we don't live in a deterministic, necessarily predictable outcomes. Things are not set in stone. Things could change, but that's the feeling that I have on it.